Cool.
Continuing our discussion from before, but now moving on to control in the workplace. First question, why do you guys think control is needed at work?
Because it's easy to measure for organisations. They have controls in place. They can replicate it in different departments, different organisations. So basically it's just needed because it's easier for organisations to use.
How do you feel about this, Andre?
I agree with what you said 100%. Yeah.
And what are the benefits of control and disadvantages?
I think the advantages are, if you have control, then like Leon said, you can kind of get work done. As manager, if you have control of your employees, then you know how they're going to do it, and they're going to do it timely, efficiently, and all that. But at the same time, the disadvantages are, if it's too controlling, sometimes the employees feel like they're in a box, they haven't got any chance to use any innovative ideas, and sometimes situations arise where, because they've been kept in a box per se, they can't deal with certain situations. So that's definitely a strong disadvantage of control.
Moving on, what sort of role does control play at work, do you feel? Or how have you seen them being portrayed in the environment you work in?
Control, I think it has good and bad. I mean, control, there's some managers who I've seen who have good control of the situation and good control of their employees and the environment they work in, and you can just tell because the way the work gets done, it's done properly and you can't find any flaws. But I said earlier on, disadvantages are sometimes when you're controlling, the environment can be hostile. Do you know what I mean? So that you're not going to get anything positive out of a hostile situation for the employees or the customers. I mean, customers obviously pick up on the sense of bad vibes.
Bad vibes in the environment in the workplace. Leon, how do you feel about it?
I think it pretty much is easy for organisations, especially for new people that work in organisations. You have certain controls, rules and regulations. They know how to fit in and how to adapt. So it pretty much is helpful for that. But the disadvantages are that too much control, there's less chance to change. And for organisations, they need to be able to change. So it needs to be dynamic and have more freedom.
Thank you. As upcoming managers, how would you apply control at work?
Obviously, control over employees still, like what time they start, what departments they're working on, jobs they have to do. But as far as like day-to-day tasks, I'd like to give them some sort of freedom. So obviously there are, like Leon said, there are set things you need to do, like need to know, for example, like health and safety, fire alarm, and so on and so forth. But I feel like if I train my employees well enough, they should be able to tackle any situation that comes up. So what if I control them and say do this and do that to the T? I just give them an overview, and then they'll be able to go away and just do it without, and I'll
take out parts they need, subtract it, and then apply themselves to it. Leon?
Initially, I'd want to give them more freedom in terms of creativity, innovation, things like that. But the problem is that you have to make sure you get the right people working with you, because some people that will take advantage of that will feel too much freedom is detriment to them, so they feel under pressure. So
do you feel that they will abuse the control that you empower them with?
Yeah, it depends on the personality of the people.
Yeah, definitely, I think so too. As a manager, or even at work, have you ever seen control abused in a situation where someone's a manager's used their control to overpower someone, to get them to do something that they're not supposed to do, or just use it to just because they can and they don't like that person?
I think in regards to that question, I think the most obvious that comes to mind is the typical scenario where, say you work a 9 to 5 and 5 o'clock comes, especially in retail, 5 o'clock comes, ready to leave, and manager says you can't go until you finish that. For example, if you're working clothes, you can't leave until you finish hanging up all that rail. Now, obviously, most retail people don't get paid overtime, so you don't want to stay, but because of the control they have over you, you end up staying. So I think that's one way they're used.
How about yourself, Jan?
I think mainly control has been in terms of like warnings and threats. Stop you from messing around. Say when it comes to closing time, make sure the place is clean, make sure the place is ready for the next day. Or stop you from like stealing or taking money, things like that. So.
Three.
I just want to get your views on the situation that happened recently. as say if you was managers working and this happened, how would you have gone about it? The franchise owner recently came in, asked for some food to get made. The employee made the food, handed it over to the franchisor, came back saying the food wasn't to his standard. He threw the food on the floor, then told the employee to pick it up. I wasn't there personally, but from what I've heard from some of the crew that were working that day, they're saying that the managers turned a blind eye, and they didn't want to send him to the franchisor because they all feared.
Yeah.
Because he had the control to, if they said something to him, to get rid of him, make him lose the job.
Yeah.
So if you was a manager, how would you have gone about that situation? Would you have approached the franchisor or?
Yeah, I would have approached the franchise. I think my initial response would probably been to spoke to the franchisor there and then.
Yeah.
At the same time, you have to, even when the situations where you feel passionate about something, you have to remain professional. So I'd bring the franchisee to a separate part of the building, maybe in an office or so on, and talk to me and express the way that I don't think the way you handled it was right. Obviously, I know I could probably lose my job or get disciplined myself. At the same point, if it's my staff, then it's the same as saying they're like a family. So therefore, I'll do the same thing I would do for like my brother or my sister kind of thing.
Fair enough, Leon.
Pretty much the same. But say, when you have your staff behind you, they respect you, they feel that they believe in you and they trust you, that you should stick up for them. And I believe that's how organisations work, by people sticking up for each other and working together.
How do you feel about the franchise? How do you think?
I think the franchisor handled the situation wrong. Personally, if that's his mentality, he shouldn't be in a position of that, with that much control and
Would
power.
you say setting a bad example?
Well, definitely. I mean, like I said, I believe that behavior breeds behavior. So you lead by example. So if you want your organisation to run a certain way, then you should be the main figurehead of how you want it to be run. And if everyone was to act how he acted, there would be no franchise at all.
Exactly.
He would be shut down and he would lose his investment. So.
Do you have anything to say, Leon?
Pretty much adding to it. In a sense that people follow leaders and managers. So if you're behaving a certain way, the staff are going to soon behave in the same way. You're going to see you as the example of how to act.
Definitely. Thank you guys for your time today.
No problem.